Do you ever think about this? Like, because I think about what is the greatest conversation I'll ever have.
Hmm.
Like in a sense, the portal, not to reduce it to anything, but there will be the greatest conversation. You may have already had it, but it's very possible if enough people like me can keep twisting your arm to keep doing the portal, please, that is there'll be an amazing conversation. One of the questions that I ask myself is like, who is the person that I'm especially equipped? For some reason, I'm convinced on Putin. There's something in my head that says I can do this man better than anyone else in this world. I got this thought in my head about it. I don't know why. And I'm convinced, but I think the universe works in that way. Like if it tells you, it's going to happen.
The way I would say it is that almost everybody who becomes a Supreme Court justice believes at a very early age they're going to become a Supreme Court
Yeah.
justice. Many people believe at an early age that they can do it, don't
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, sure.
But of those who get there, almost all of them had this sort of, well, I call it pathological self-confidence. And I do think you have pathological self-confidence and you also have humility. And most people would hear those as a contradiction. I think that you would not be able to get away with what you do if you didn't have the humility. And so I think, the great danger is that your equation becomes unbalanced, that you either lose the humility or you lose the humility overwhelms the ego and the drive, because right now you've got a Mexican standoff in your mind and the rest of us are just benefiting.
That's beautifully put.
My Mexican standoffs aren't as stable as yours. It's all Reservoir Dogs all the time.
Yeah.
But actually, the person who that describes is Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel thinks more. People always say, like, what does Peter think about X, Y, and Z, P, and Q? It's like, well, do you want communist Peter? Do you want hyper-capitalist Peter?
Minds in there.
Oh my God, right? On everything. That's why he's successful, is that he's got all these minds fighting each other. And so when people say Peter is this or Peter is that, I just laugh, because like nobody who knows him would describe him as having thoughts at the level that people are claiming. And I do think that, in my case, there's also pathological epistemic humility. Like, just I know how little I can do in one life. I know how many things I've screwed up. I know how many things I've got wrong. And on the other hand, I know that if not, it's like Hillel's questions. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? At some level, there's a question about, if I don't decide that someone is capable and that somebody is me, and if I apply that to everyone else on the planet, then nobody's going to do anything. And so I do think that one of the things that people like you and I get is, who are you to say that? Right. F that, man. Just sign me up for some Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, but it's multiple minds, like you said. Like this morning, I was feeling so good and confident I couldn't think no wrong. And I remember last night clearly thinking that I'm the dumbest human who's ever lived.
Yeah,
and
great.
Nothing I've ever said is worth anything. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Why am I scared? I was terrified of this conversation. Who the hell am I?
This conversation?
Because I'm an idiot. And because,
Lex.
But no. But this morning,
Aha.
I was the baddest motherfucker who's ever walked this earth. So I was very conscious. I think it was the coffee. I'm not sure. Maybe some sleep.
This sounds very Russian, and it involves multiple beverages, some of them being alcoholic, others containing caffeine.
There's, in fact, I can't share the story behind it, but there is a bottle of vodka in the fridge.
Okay.
So, I
should have hit you for coffee, because this is a morning show here.
So I put out a call that we get a chance to have this conversation, and people ask these wonderful questions. A few people asked about depression and suicide. This is a Russian program, so we have to go there. And I think about Leonard Cohen, and one of the things that always kind of broke my heart and kind of suffocated the hope I have for just I don't know, for love in a person's life, is to hear how much depression was a part of Leonard Cohen's life and how much he suffered. I guess one way, I'm not sure where we can go with this question, but do you think about the places that the mind can go, like these dark places?
Yeah,
Is there something like where the only escape out is suicide, for example? That's the darkest version of it.
that I really think suicide is a big place in suicidal ideation and self harm, and we don't talk a lot about it. Um, it's a similar problem to trying to talk about trans. These are umbrella categories, and if the commonality is that somebody harms themselves, but we don't know whether that's coming because of a problem in brain chemistry, because of an event in their life, um, whether evolutionary programming for suicide is weirdly normal, whether or not it might have a religious motivation. There's too many different forms of self harm. It's something like the 10th largest killer or thereabouts. Um, and I think that you can look at it from different angles. I'm old enough to have had Pete Seeger come to my college when I was at university, and to watch his good humor in the face of all adversity. Um, I think of Odetta. I used to go to Odetta concerts. I don't know if you know who she is.
Mhm.
Okay, this is going to be one of the better days of your life. Check
Okay.
out Odetta when
Odetta.
we're done with the interview. She was a civil rights figure, but also just had a profound voice and great musicianship. These people were in the struggle, right? And they saw lots of bad things happen, and they kept their humor about them. And the thing is that you can take on the Weltschmerz, the pain of the planet, or you can try to do something else, which is to be a happy warrior, even if the odds are terrible and the cost of failure is catastrophic.
So even when surrounded by darkness. But the thing is with Leonard Cohen is he created such beautiful music, and yet it's like Anthony Bourdain, the same. And yet they go to this dark place. And it could be, it's easy to say it's just biochemistry.
No, there's a linkage between this highly generative, creative
Yeah.
side and, in some cases, dark depression. In other cases, not. So you can't say that it's tied, that genius and madness are always, co-traveling, or that beauty and pain are one and the same. What you can say is that there's a cluster of people that tell you that for that cluster, there is a relationship between the darkness and the beauty. And I do think that in part, it's squaring circles that can't be squared. That, well, we were just talking before about the inability to serve two perfect systems, the perfect system of the wave equation and the perfect system of even temperament. They're both perfect. They're not compatible. And once you realize that there is perfection and an inability to make contact with perfection, I think you recognize that um, there is no solution to this world.
Yeah. That's weird with the poets and musicians. Do you want to say this is a particular thing that you do? But then there's Spanish Fly by Van Halen. And then you realize, oh,
Well, what do you get out of Spanish Fly by Dave Van Halen? I think it's very singular because of the fact that it's purely acoustic.
for some reason, I couldn't imagine Eddie Van Halen separate from the band in front of thousands of people just screaming and rocking out with lights everywhere. And Spanish Fly made me think it made me imagine him sitting alone on a couch in a room.
I think that's who he was. I really do. I mean, it's, believe me, I get it. He was a rock star. He was a rock guy. Got it. I'm almost positive that you can't get to where he got to without being a complete introvert.
Yeah, like it made me imagine that there's like some half naked supermodel walking around hoping that they can, do their thing together. And Eddie's
He'd be with the
completely
guitar.
disinterested. He'd be with the guitar.
He'd be with the guitar, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly, at some level, in one case, maybe you're conquesting, maybe you're pursuing love and romance. In the other case, you're talking about a relationship to to the order, the creator, the almighty, whatever it is you want to call that substrate that is reality. And, do I believe that Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix and Paganini and Heifetz jacked into the true essence of the world? Yeah, they did. I don't think it's as good as differential geometry. I'm sorry. I do think it's amazing for other reasons. And thank God, because it's very difficult to communicate differential geometry at scale. But the thing about eruption, for example,
Mhm.
what level do you want to come into eruption? Do you want just the sheer majesty and pageantry? Do you want the theatrics? Like, you could put him on wires and, set his pants on fire or whatever. And, it'd be totally in keeping with it. On the other hand, you want to talk something completely precise that, shows off the virtuosity of what's possible with a Stratocaster. Everything works.